Hey viewers, welcome back. I hope you will enjoy this story. Let's begin.
My parents forced me to marry their wealthy friend's son and rejected the man I truly loved because he wasn't rich enough. I begged them. I cried. I told them I couldn't live without him. They refused to listen. They gave me no choice, so I said yes. But on my wedding day, just before the final ceremony, a shocking video was sent to me and my entire family. When I pressed play, my whole world collapsed. My name is Ilara Vaughn, and today is my wedding day. The ballroom was filled with soft music and bright lights and smiling faces. White roses covered every table. Crystal chandeliers sparkled above hundreds of guests. Waiters moved quietly with trays of champagne. Cameras flashed every few seconds. Everyone looked happy. Everyone looked excited. Everyone except me. I stood in front of the mirror wearing a gown that cost more than most people earn in a year. My hair was perfect. My makeup was flawless. Diamonds rested around my neck. From the outside, I looked like the luckiest woman in the world. But inside, I felt empty. Because in less than an hour, I was going to marry a man I barely knew. His name was Lucien Cross. He was handsome, wealthy, confident, and the son of my father's oldest business friend. To everyone else, he looked like the perfect husband. But to me, he felt like a stranger in an expensive suit. This wedding was not about love. It was a deal. A deal between two powerful families. A deal I never wanted. I looked down at the ring on my finger and tried to breathe. My hands were shaking so badly that my bridesmaid had to fix my veil twice. "You okay?" she asked softly. I forced a smile. "Just nervous." That was the lie I had been telling everyone for weeks. I wasn't nervous. I was heartbroken. Because 2 years ago, I had already found the man I wanted to spend my life with. His name was Kieran Holt. Kieran was nothing like Lucien. He didn't wear designer suits. He didn't arrive in luxury cars. He didn't come from old money or powerful friends. He worked hard, laughed easily, and loved me in the simplest, purest way I had ever known. With Kieran, I never had to pretend. We met at a bookstore cafe. I was reaching for a novel on the top shelf when 3 books fell on my head. He picked them up, laughed, and said, "That's one way to make an entrance." I laughed too. That was the beginning. For 2 years, he became my peace. Late-night drives with no destination. Cheap pizza on park benches. Long talks about dreams, fears, and the future. He remembered little things, how I liked my coffee, what songs made me cry, when I was pretending to be okay. He made ordinary moments feel beautiful, and I loved him more than I knew how to explain. But my father only saw one thing. Kieran was not rich. My father, Harold Vaughn, had built a business empire from nothing. He respected power, status, and money above everything else. To him, love was weak if it could not protect you. When he found out about Kieran, he didn't shout at first. He simply asked one cold question. "What can he give you?" I answered without thinking. "Happiness." My father laughed. "Happiness doesn't pay bills. Happiness doesn't protect family name. Happiness doesn't open doors." My mother, Helena, stood beside him in silence. She always supported him, even when she knew he was wrong. Then came the announcement that changed everything. My father had already promised me to Lucien Cross. He and Lucien's father had been planning it for months. A marriage would bring both families even closer. Bigger deals, stronger influence, more power. I stared at him in shock. "You promised me?" I whispered. I secured your future, he replied. I love someone else. You'll forget him. No. That was the first time I openly defied my father, and he never forgave me for it. For weeks, the house became a battlefield. My mother cried daily. My father stopped speaking to me unless it was to remind me how selfish I was being. Relatives called non-stop. Your father gave you everything. Don't shame the family. Love fades, security lasts. You're being childish. I fought back until I had no strength left. Then one night, my father came into my room and closed the door behind him. His face was calm. Too calm. If you refuse this marriage, he said quietly, you lose us forever. My throat tightened. What? You heard me. My mother entered behind him, tears in her eyes. Please don't do this to us, Ilara, she whispered. People already know. Invitations are sent. If you walk away now, we will be humiliated. My father looked directly into my eyes. You will be responsible for destroying this family. I felt like the walls were closing around me. They knew exactly where to hurt me. Not my heart. My guilt. For 3 nights, I barely slept. I cried until my chest hurt. I kept imagining losing my family forever. No mother, no father, no home, no name. And in the end, I broke. I said yes. The next day, I went to see Kieran one last time. We met at the lake where we used to sit for hours talking about our future. He smiled when he saw me, until he noticed I was crying. Ilara, what happened? I couldn't speak for several seconds. Then I finally forced the words out. I love you, I said. I always will. But I can't do this anymore. I can't lose my family. He stood completely still. They're forcing you? They said if I don't marry him, I lose them forever. Kieran looked away, jaw tight, eyes full of pain. Then come with me, he said softly. We'll start over somewhere else. I wanted to say yes. God, I wanted to say yes. But fear was stronger than courage. I shook my head. I'm sorry. A tear rolled down his face, but he quickly wiped it away. He stepped back. If this is truly what you want, he said, voice breaking, I'll let you go. It's not what I want. Then why does it feel like goodbye? Because it was. I left him standing there alone, and now I was standing in a bridal suite, dressed for a wedding that felt like a funeral. A knock came at the door. It's time, someone said. I looked at myself one last time in the mirror. Then I whispered the truth no one else knew. I'm marrying the wrong man. A part of me wanted to run, to take off my heels, leave the dress behind, and disappear before anyone noticed. But I knew I wouldn't. My father had made sure of that. So I wiped my tears, lifted my chin, and walked toward the ballroom. The doors opened. Music filled the room. Guests smiled. Cameras flashed. Everyone stood to watch me walk down the aisle. I should have felt beautiful. Instead, I felt trapped. My father proudly held my arm as he led me forward. My mother smiled through tears. Lucien stood at the altar in a perfect tuxedo, looking calm and confident like nothing in the world could shake him. When I reached him, he smiled softly. You look stunning, he said. I gave a small nod. That was all I could manage. The officiant began speaking. He talked about love, trust, commitment, and forever. Every word felt empty to me. I looked around the room. Everyone seemed happy. My father looked relieved. My mother looked proud. Lucienne looked relaxed. And I felt completely alone. The officiant then smiled and said, "We are here today to join two families." Suddenly, phones buzzed across the room, one after another, then all at once. Guests looked down at their screens. My father frowned. My mother looked confused. Even Lucienne's face changed for a second. My own phone buzzed in my hand. An unknown sender. One video file. Its title was simple. "Watch before she says yes." The room grew quiet. People started opening it. I opened it too. The first image made my heart stop. It was Lucien at a nightclub, his arm around another woman. Then another photo. Lucien leaving a hotel with a different woman. Then another. Lucien in a parking lot, holding hands with someone while laughing. Then a restaurant video. He was sitting close to a blonde woman, feeding her dessert, kissing her hand across the table. Then screenshots of messages. "I can't wait until this fake wedding is over. After marriage, everything changes for me. You know she means nothing to me." My hands started shaking so badly I almost dropped the phone. Around me, gasps spread through the hall. What is this? Oh my God. No way. My mother covered her mouth. My father stormed toward Lucien. "What the hell is this?" he shouted. Lucien's father stood up in rage. "What have you done?" Lucien quickly raised both hands. "These are fake!" he shouted. "Someone edited all of this." He pointed around the room. "This is sabotage. Someone wants to ruin today." He turned to me. "Ilara, don't believe this." But I was already stepping back from him. Because for the first time, I saw the real Lucien. Not confident, not polished, not perfect. Just a liar caught in front of everyone. Guests were whispering louder now. Some were standing. Others were replaying the video on their phones. Cameras were still recording everything. My father looked like he might collapse from anger. My mother was crying. Lucien kept shouting that it was fake. Then the ballroom doors opened again, and everyone turned. A man walked slowly into the ballroom. Kieran Holt. For a second, the entire room went silent. Even the whispers stopped, and the only sound left was the soft music still playing in the background. He was dressed in a simple black suit, nothing flashy, nothing expensive. But he carried himself with a calm confidence that made every eye follow him. Lucien stared at him in shock. My heart nearly stopped. I had imagined seeing Kieran 100 times since the day I left him. In every version, I ran to him, cried in his arms, and begged for forgiveness. But now that he was really here, I couldn't move. Kieran's eyes found mine first. There was pain in them, but there was also something stronger. Determination. Then he looked at Lucien. "You said the video was fake," Kieran said calmly. "So I brought people who can tell the truth themselves." He stepped aside. Two women entered behind him. The first was elegant, furious, and holding printed screenshots in her hand. The second looked heartbroken and embarrassed, like she had cried all night before coming here. The first woman pointed directly at Lucien. "You promised me marriage 3 months ago." She threw the screenshots onto the floor in front of him. "I paid your gambling debt because you said we were building a future together." The second woman stepped forward, her voice shaking. "You told me she was only a business arrangement. You said you would leave her after the wedding." The room exploded with noise. Guests gasped, some stood up, and others began filming openly. Lucien's mother screamed at him. His father grabbed his arm so hard Lucian nearly stumbled. "You idiot!" his father shouted. "You've destroyed us!" Lucian yanked free. "This is insane," he yelled. "They're lying! He paid them!" Kieran didn't react. He simply pulled out his phone and held it up. "There's more," he said quietly. He pressed play. Lucian's voice filled the ballroom through the speakers. "Once I marry her, my father keeps me in the family business. After that, I can leave her whenever I want." Then another clip played. "I don't love Ilara. I'm only doing this because if I refuse, I lose everything." Then another. "My father said if I don't marry her, I'm cut off from the money, the house, all of it." Lucian's face turned white. He lunged toward Kieran, but security rushed in and stopped him. His father looked ready to disown him on the spot, while his mother sobbed in humiliation. And me? I felt nothing at first. No anger, no tears, no shock, just emptiness. I looked at the man standing at the altar beside the flowers and candles. The man my father had forced into my life. The man everyone said was perfect. He was never a husband. He was a transaction. Then I looked at Kieran, the man I had broken my own heart to leave. The man who still came back, not to claim me, but to save me. Tears filled my eyes. I slowly walked toward him through the broken silence. When I reached him, my voice trembled. "Why?" I whispered. "After everything, why would you do this for me?" Kieran looked at me for a long moment. "Because I loved you enough to let you go," he said softly. "But I loved you too much to leave you in a trap." That was when I broke. All the pain I had buried came rushing out at once. I cried in front of everyone. Not from shame, from relief. I stepped closer, wanting to hold him, but Kieran gently moved back. "This is still your life, Ilara," he said. "Your choice." Then he turned toward the doors. He was leaving. My chest tightened. I had lost him once already, and I could not lose him again. "Kieran." Before I could say another word, my father's voice thundered across the hall. "Stop!" Everyone froze again. My father, Harold Vaughn, walked slowly toward us. His face was pale. The proud, powerful businessman from earlier was gone. In his place stood a man who had just watched his own arrogance collapse. My mother followed beside him, tears running down her face. My father stopped in front of Kieran. For a second, no one breathed. Then he said words I never thought I would hear. "I was wrong." The room murmured. My father turned to me. "I thought money could protect you." Then he looked back at Kieran. "But today, the man with the least money in this room protected my daughter more than anyone else." My mother covered her mouth, crying harder now. She took my hand. "Forgive us," she whispered. "We were blinded." I could barely breathe. My father looked at Kieran again. "Where are you going?" he asked. Kieran frowned slightly. "What?" My father glanced at the decorated altar. "The wedding isn't finished." The room fell silent. Then gasps spread like wildfire. My mother actually laughed through tears. "If you still love her," she said, smiling at Kieran, "don't leave before it's your turn." I stared at them in disbelief. Then at Kieran. He looked just as stunned as I was. For once, the powerful Harold Vaughn seemed nervous. "Well," my father said gruffly, "don't make me ask twice." Kieran looked at me, only me, and in that moment, all the noise disappeared. I stepped toward him. "Yes," I whispered. "Please." He crossed the distance between us and pulled me into his arms. The guests burst into applause. Some were crying, others were laughing in disbelief. Even the officiant looked stunned. Lucien and his family slipped out quietly, chased by shame and whispers. My father walked to the altar and removed the ring meant for Lucien. He handed it to Kieran. "Use this one," he said. "I paid too much for it." For the first time that day, the room laughed. I laughed too, through tears. Minutes later, I stood beside the man I had loved from the beginning. No pressure, no fear, no lies, just choice.